baby lives with HIV. A woman buys a bracelet. A man fights for freedom from heroin. From Burma's mines to Mandalay's markets, to Chinese consumers lured by luxury, this is the high human cost of Jade's journey.
这是就是玉从古至今都是对中国人来说都是一种非常雅致的一种象征吧。
Jade's allure for China's growing middle class has fueled a boom. The Chinese are estimated to spend between $2 and $3.5 billion a year on Burmese jadeite, the most coveted form of jade.
那么这块玉可以祈福，可以保平安，可以给你带来吉祥。所以无论是从它的这个物理性质，还是它的文化意义来讲，它对每一个中国人来讲，或者是每一个人来讲，它都是有美好的寓意的。
Over 1,700 miles south of Beijing, in Mandalay, Myanmar, jade is purchased in a much different way, by the bagful. The wholesale market here opens up daily at 2 a.m. And by sunrise, Chinese nationals flood the market, looking to stock their stores in China to meet the growing demand.
发现下来，一年来大概4次5次，每次来啊，差不多100万吧，100万吧。
我的生意很好啊，这个意识养活了很多人呀。中国人、缅甸人为了要找饭吃，就是说也养活了很多人。现在呢，买的人越来越多，价钱就越来越贵。以前呢，就是说，现在可以说走了上100倍这样了。以前1万可以买到的东西，现在差不多要50万。
一倍了。
The vast majority of Burma's sought-after jade comes from Kachin State, an impoverished and war-torn territory in Myanmar's far north. Civil war here between the ethnic Kachin and dominant Burmese has been ongoing since the creation of the state of Myanmar over 50 years ago. Generations of authoritarian rule and neglect have left Kachin State in shambles. Average incomes here are below $1 a day. But with guaranteed demand from China, jade mining has become the best option for Kachin looking to escape poverty.
Sungang ay ante lungseng tua bungli logang ay lungseng tua ngutawa tinango nit matalet sungang yang go myolin chet am jo tua garanga sungang ye lungseng ko lewa luwa tinang sa jo da de go lewa lungseng ka jawa ye sa nyo khup na kun ngu da khu mi matalet tua kuranga ya sungang yang go ye lu sum yu jo ma re khunga sungang ye nambat ngai kuna lu sum yu jo tua ngona lu sum yu go tua ngonang go mi go ye tinang msan ne ko nam san pranam tu
Jade lies close to the surface in the rolling hills of northern Myanmar near the Chinese border. Foreigners aren't permitted anywhere near this area. Raw, it looks like many other stones, but cut and polished, its trademark green hue shines bright. Large-scale mining concessions are licensed to companies with ties to the Burmese government. Smaller-scale operations like this are mined with hand tools by Kachin workers. However, dozens of miners interviewed by the New York Times said the operations they worked for were illegally financed by Chinese businessmen. Miners here believe the drugs let them work longer without stopping. Before he got HIV, Na Ring would work around the clock, working for days without sleep. He was paid $1 an hour. Dealers set up shops next to or on mining sites like this, where users are free to sell, buy, and use heroin. Kachin miners claim the police and military routinely take bribes and allow the market to run without interference of the law. What looks like piles of trash are in fact piles of needles. Heroin is illegal in Myanmar, but its rampant use in Kachin State and lack of drug enforcement in the mines has led many Kachin to believe that the central government is encouraging the scourge as a weapon against their people. Laja, a former addict, runs rehab clinics in Machina, Kachin State's capital. He tries to help miners hooked on heroin. Sadly, he believes his success rate is lower than 5%.
Heroin pe chai lang ngu pe ane mumta dai go ndai amu ndai wa bo no ndai opium wa nguna mai sunai
na ya wa asuyan sha ku ane yo jungpo sha ne kana tongja ding jungpo sha kana tongja du ni du chi ni si na nga do ni hem nga do ku lu da chi wa na ku yi da ku na mi
Over time, the heroin epidemic has spread from the mines into urban and rural areas throughout Kachin State. The Kachin Baptist Convention, which oversees more than 300 churches in the state, estimates that up to 80% of Kachin youth are now addicted to heroin. This addict only has a few short weeks left to live. While the mines generate billions of dollars in revenue for the owners and central government, little is left for the Kachin people to treat the growing army of addicts. Kachin State is majority Christian, a legacy of missionaries that came here in the 1800s. Many of its churches, pillars in the community, have stepped in to fill the void. But without Western resources like methadone, dependency is being fought with prayer, water therapy, and even chains and cages. Critics say some of the methods violate the most basic of human rights, but Kachin leaders say they have no way to keep drug addicts from fleeing back to their dealers. Just weeks after being chained to this bed, Mung Cha escaped again. He died shortly after from a heroin overdose.
There's a huge need to respond to this, and it needs to be done now. Drug dependence is a chronic relapsing medical condition, and the availability of methadone in this country is very, very low. You're talking about 3,500 people who have access to it. In a country that the government estimates, using a consensus number, of 150,000 drug users. We put the number somewhere in between 300,000 and 400,000. You have 3,500 people who have a medicine that supports them in drug treatment. It should be 10 times that.
Local health workers say as many as half of the Kachin users are now HIV positive, while 80% have contracted hepatitis C. Rehabs and hospices throughout the region are overflowing with minors and their families, whom they have transmitted diseases to. As the drugs and disease spread and the Kachin and Burmese continue to fight, China's role in the conflict is more difficult to pinpoint. While it's clear the great demand for jade is luring impoverished Kachin into the drug-infested mines, the question remains: what responsibility should the mine owners, jade dealers, and Chinese consumers have for the well-being of the Kachin? International human rights organizations say China has turned a blind eye to the human suffering wrought by the Chinese love for Kachin's jade. Meanwhile, the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crimes notes that the vast majority of chemical agents needed to make heroin also come from China.
Number 4 kani nampamlu sha spro na pha ji phe ante bukam sha ni lu ai nda spro na ma tu rai arung arai ma ante nje spro ai lu ai nda go ante lu so na lam ngai go mai gan go na shang wa ngu na ante lu so na.
When confronted about the connection between jade and drugs in Kachin, an official with the state-affiliated Gems and Jewelry Trade Association of China denied there was a drug problem. When asked about why heroin was not being policed in Kachin State, Myanmar's Ministry of Mines refused to answer.